Picture this. It's a beautiful summer afternoon in 1989, and you're cruising at 37,000 feet over the American Midwest. The flight has been smooth as silk. Then, without warning, the aircraft shudders violently and begins banking to the right. In the cockpit, the pilots discover that all of their flight controls have stopped working. But among the 296 people on board is a passenger who happens to be one of the most experienced DC-10 pilots in the world. Together, the crew is about to attempt something that has never been done before: land a jumbo jet using only engine power. So stow your tray tables, fasten your seatbelts, and prepare for some extreme turbulence, because this is Final Boarding Call.
I will now take this duck off my head.
You looked great, though.
Thank you.
Hello, and welcome to Final Boarding Call. I am your disaster-obsessed host, Alice.
And I am Zach, the one who shows up every time, whether I'm reluctant or not. But today is a great day because I am not falling asleep while we record. We are recording midday.
This is crazy. We have never before recorded during the day. We always record this right before we're about to try and fall asleep, and Zach is exhausted. I'm exhausted, and we're trying to make the most of the situation. So maybe you can feel our enthusiasm across the radio waves.
I have had a couple of moments that are similar to when we're in bed watching TV and you roll over. Are you sleeping? And I jolt awake and I'm like, absolutely not. I'm fine.
You've fallen asleep on the podcast.
I wouldn't call it falling asleep. And it was for one episode ever. And I was exhausted. And it was when we were laying in bed too. So I was laying back, kind of comfy.
Well, I love you. Do you have any reminders for the people before we dive in?
Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
Boop. Okay, sources. So this episode is one of the craziest aviation incidents of all time. I'm a big fan. Not everybody makes it, so maybe I shouldn't say that I'm a big fan.
She's a huge fan of death and dismemberment.
No, it's horrible. No, but to me, this is pilots being ultimate badass, this kind of story. So here are my sources. Obviously, I got an air disaster for this one. We've got season 11, episode 13, titled Impossible Landing. I did do a little bit of research into the NTSB investigation reports, and obviously Wikipedia came into play very lightly on this episode, actually. The air disaster did a wonderful job telling this story. Okay, Zach, do you want to know why I was passionate about doing this episode for this particular week?
Tell me why.
It's because the week that this is going to be released to the people,
Anniversary.
we will be flying
Oh.
from Colorado to Chicago. And this is the story of a flight from Colorado to Chicago.
You love to just put a terrible, dark
I
thought
love
in
it.
the world.
No, I love it. I love it. However, this flight's out of Denver. We will be flying out of Colorado Springs, but it is fun to me that these people were on a very similar flight that we're going to be doing.
And died.
Not all of them. Okay, let's go. July 19th, 1989. It is a gorgeous summer day in Denver, Colorado, with clear skies and perfect flying weather. I actually forgot to mention this earlier, but this blew my mind when I was researching this. I actually thought that Air Disasters, the documentary series, got the name of Denver's airport wrong. I had to rewind 3 times because they kept calling it Stapleton International Airport. And I was like, what is that? Where is that? That ain't Denver's airport. Turns out it was. So let me give you a little bit of background here.
In the 80s.
Stapleton International Airport, formerly Denver Municipal Airport, was Denver's primary airport from 1929 to to 1995. It was subsequently replaced by what we all know, loathed, as Denver International Airport. I can't say love because I don't know anybody who loves DIA.
And all of its conspiracies. I love it.
The
for just those
conspiracies are cool.
reasons.
The conspiracies are cool. But yes, DIA was opened in 1995. And the airport property where Stapleton Airport used to live is now a housing neighborhood. That's called Stapleton Neighborhood.
Stapleton Housing District.
Stapleton Neighborhood.
Stapleton Housing District.
Okay, cool. So anyway, that's important because I'm going to reference Stapleton Airport, and I just want people to know that I know the name of the airport in Denver. I live here. So I just want people to know, yes, it threw me off. So I'm sure it would throw somebody else off. Anyways, these people, 285 passengers, they are boarding United Airlines Flight 232 bound for Chicago, continuing service to Philadelphia.
I picked up on that one, but maybe somebody wouldn't have.
Look, we're not going to judge our listener base, all right? We love them. All 5.5 of you. The aircraft is a McDonnell Douglas DC-1010. Is that correct? But let me make sure that the DC-1010
is a thing. Is a thing. Before I tell all these people what this plane is, let's make sure that it is a plane.
It is. It is. DC-1010. The DC-1010.
It's going 10/10ths.
Weird. At the time of this story, which is 1989, this plane had been flying for, not this particular, I don't know if it's this particular plane, but DC-10s in general had been flying for nearly 2 decades. So that model had come out 2 decades prior. It had a hell of a reputation. Please listen to some of our episodes covering DC-10s and the issues that they have had. But at this time, it had really repaired its reputation. So the issues that it was having in the 70s, it was like, wipe that slate clean. We're safe again. Fly DC-10. This particular aircraft that we are talking about is 18 years old, and it has logged over 43,000 flight hours.
That's a lot.
It can vote. It's a lot of flight hours. It's still going. Let me introduce you to the flight crew. Captain Alfred C. Al Haynes.
Okay.
We're going to call him Al, or Haynes. But he's 57 years old. He is a veteran United Airlines pilot with nearly 30,000 hours of flight time.
That's a big bunch.
And he has over 7,000 hours specifically in the DC-10. He is known for his calm demeanor and exceptional professionalism. Ooh. Exceptional professionalism. I love that. Let's talk about our first officer. First officer, William R. Bill Records. 48. Bill Records. Love that. He has 20,000 hours of total flight time. He previously has flown for National Airlines and Pan Am before joining United in 1985. He has 665 hours as a DC-10 first officer. And we have a flight engineer because it's 1989, so we still need one of those. Our flight engineer is Dudley J. Dvorak.
That's pretty good.
We'll call him Flight Engineer Dudley. He's 51, and he was hired by United in 1986. He has around 15,000 hours of total flight time, with most of his DC-10 experience coming from his 33 hours as a flight engineer on this aircraft type. So, yeah, you've got a solid team. Solid team. Also aboard Flight 232 is somebody who will become crucial to our story, though nobody knows it yet when they're all just boarding. Dennis E., also known as Denny, Fitch, who is 46, and he is deadheading. And we use this term for the first time in our episode about the FedEx hijacking. And deadheading is when somebody travels as a passenger while they are off duty. So it's somebody who works in the airline industry. They're not working. They are deadheading. Fitch is not just any passenger, though. He's a United Airlines DC-10 training check pilot meaning he is one of the most experienced DC-10 pilots in the world.
Not just the city, the world, Craig. Get yourself a sticker. Let me know who said it.
He is responsible for training and evaluating other pilots on this aircraft type. Okay, it is worth noting that today, not today that you're listening to this, today as in July 19th, 1989, is Children's Day at United Airlines, which is a special promotion where children's tickets cost 1 penny. God, I wish. What I would do.
It would be an ideal situation.
For Children's Day. Okay. As a result, this is a corporate America flying nightmare. There are 52 children on this plane. So for somebody like me who travels constantly for work, I love when there is a handful, scattering of kids amongst the aircraft. 52 children. Oh my God. Including 4 lap children, which are infants that are too young to require their own seats. All of our parents will know that, but if you're cool, hip, don't have kids, you don't have to pay for a ticket if your kiddo is under the age of 2 because they can just sit on your lap and you will lose all feeling in your legs. Among the adult passengers is Jerry Schemmel, who is a basketball executive heading to Chicago for a college draft. At 2:09 p.m. Central Daylight Time, Flight 232 pushes back from the gate and takes off into the clear Colorado sky. The flight plan calls for a cruising altitude of 37,000 feet, and the journey to Chicago should take about 2 hours. The takeoff and initial climb are completely normal. The aircraft performs flawlessly as it climbs through the thin mountain air and levels off at cruising altitude. Lunch is served because this is back when you got food on an airplane. How gangster. Passengers settle in for the flight, and everything seems perfect for what would be a routine journey across America's heartland. Captain Haynes would later describe the flight as absolutely normal in all respects, which sounds accurate for a guy who's professional.
He's just a professional guy.
Yeah, he's very professional. The airplane was trimmed properly. The crew was enjoying coffee and the weather was beautiful. There was no reason to expect anything other than a perfectly routine flight. But we wouldn't be talking about this on our podcast if this plane just took off and landed normally in Chicago.
Fact.
At 3:16 p.m., exactly 1 hour and 7 minutes after takeoff, everything changes in an instant. Flight 232 is cruising peacefully at 37,000 feet when there is a tremendous explosion from the rear of the aircraft. The sound is deafening. Jerry, who is the basketball executive, later recalls that it was like being thrown into a great big tornado. One moment everything was smooth, and the next it was pure chaos. The explosion comes from the DC-10's tail-mounted engine, which is the number 2 engine. That's the tail-mounted one.
Okay. I don't know why that seems like such a fun fact for you.
Because in a previous episode, we talked about an engine on the DC-10 that fell off.
Yeah. The number 1 engine.
The number 1 engine, which was the engine on the left.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm giving you this face because we're learning, Zach. This is a partially educational podcast. I say educational very loosely.
You're just that mom that wants her kid to be learning something. So it doesn't matter what they watch as long as there is a factoid.
Yeah, this is vague. Okay, the number 2 engine is the tail-mounted engine. And this is the one that has exploded. Inside that engine, a massive fan disc weighing nearly 400 pounds and measuring 32 inches in diameter has just disintegrated.
It's like turbine wheels on turbo.
Correct. Except again, this is a plane and it's 400 pounds.
Yeah, so a bigger scale. Same thing.
Yes, the exact same thing. To understand what happened, I need to explain how jet engines work briefly. The fan disc is one of the most critical components of a turbofan jet. It is a massive titanium disc that spins at thousands of revolutions per minute. People that drive manual cars, or maybe not manual, I don't know if people that drive automatics are really super familiar with the RPM concept, but RPM is a term that it has to do with rotations per minute. This spins in the thousands, as does technically a car engine as well, with dozens of fan blades attached around its circumference. So that's cool. We're going to show pictures of this just so that people get an idea, because it's hard for me to describe what it is. These blades pull enormous amounts of air into the engine. Zach, how does an engine work? Why don't you just briefly explain the 3 key components that you need to make an engine function?
You need air, fuel, and fire.
Air, fuel, and fire. I think I just stuttered when I said that.
Air, fuel, and fire.
Air, fuel, fire. Yes, that is critical. And the blades are pulling in air, which is obviously a critical part of this equation. It's what provides the most thrust that pushes the aircraft forward. When the fan disc breaks apart, what engineers call an uncontained failure, it releases energy equivalent to a bomb explosion. Chunks of titanium alloy, each weighing dozens of pounds, are hurled outward at tremendous speeds, acting like high-velocity shrapnel. In the cockpit, First Officer Bill Records immediately takes manual control as the autopilot disconnects. It was like, adios, muchacho, I'm out.
Catch you later.
Captain Haynes focuses on the failed engine, trying to understand what is happening. The engine instruments show it's malfunctioning, and flight engineer Dudley shuts off the fuel supply to prevent further damage. Smart thinking, Dudley. But they quickly realize that this isn't just an engine failure. Records discovers that the aircraft isn't responding to his control inputs. Even with the control column turned all the way to the left and pulled all the way back, inputs that would never be used together in normal flight, the aircraft continues banking to the right with the nose dropping. That's not good. Captain Haynes tries to help level the aircraft with his own control column, and both pilots work together, but nothing happens. The aircraft seems to have a mind of its own, banking further and further to the right. Then flight engineer Dudley delivers the news that changes everything. We have no hydraulic fluid left. All systems are down to 0. All 3.
What is it with them and their hydraulics and the engines where they're just like, oh, let's put everything here with no failsafe?
Oh, man, DC-10. Okay. This announcement is met with disbelief. That's impossible, someone responds. And from an engineering standpoint, it should be impossible. The DC-10 has 3 completely independent hydraulic systems. Each one is powered by one of the aircraft's 3 engines. These systems are designed with what engineers call redundancy, also a keyword in the data center industry. If one fails, the other 2 can handle all flight control functions. If 2 fails, the remaining system can still control the aircraft, though with reduced capabilities. But all 3 systems failing simultaneously was considered so remote, with odds calculated to 1 billion to 1.
They won the lottery.
Oh no, this is not the lottery you want to win. No emergency procedures had ever been written for such an event. Is that Benji?
Yep.
Our grumbly old boy, grumbly old dog. It was literally considered impossible. Here's why hydraulic failure is so catastrophic on a large aircraft. Unlike small planes, where the pilots can physically move control surfaces through cables and pulleys, jets like the DC-10, rely entirely on hydraulic power to move their massive control surfaces. For our non-technical folks out there, think of hydraulics like the muscle of the aircraft. Pressurized fluid flows through lines throughout the plane, powering actuators that move the elevators, ailerons, rudders, and other control surfaces. When pilots move their controls, they are not directly moving these surfaces. So they are not like pulling strings and something happens. They are sending signals to hydraulic actuators that do the heavy lifting against really tremendous aerodynamic forces. The moral of this story, folks, is that with no hydraulics,
you're going to have a bad time.
The flight controls become completely useless. Completely. The control yoke, rudder pedals, trim wheels are essentially disconnected from the aircraft. The pilots might as well throw them out the window. But Captain Haynes and his crew aren't ready to give up because that would mean that they would all die. So this is good. In a moment of inspiration, they decide to try something that has never been attempted before on a commercial airliner. They're flying using only engine power. They're about to throttle this thing.
Give her a go.
Give her a go. We're going to see how it goes. They're going to steer using throttle. They are going to change elevation using only throttle. With no flight controls available, the crew of Flight 232 faces a situation that no commercial pilot has ever encountered. They have 2 wing-mounted engines that are still running normally, and they decide to use these engines as their only means of control. It really is like driving a Subaru. You can't turn it. It just screams at you. The physics are simple in theory, but incredibly difficult in practice. By adding power to both engines, they can create more lift and raise the nose. By reducing power, the nose will drop. To turn right, they can add power to the left engine while reducing power to the right engine, creating asymmetric thrust that should push the aircraft around. But the margins for error are microscopic. Too much power and the aircraft climbs too steeply, threatening a stall. We know this, folks. Planes do not like climbing at a crazy steep angle. Too little power, and it dives towards the ground. Every single throttle movement must be precise and coordinated. Initially, these efforts seemed to work. By carefully adjusting engine power, they managed to level the aircraft and stop its dangerous right bank. But they quickly discover another problem. The aircraft wants to oscillate up and down in what is called a phugoid cycle. Phugoid.
I'm not sure who came up with that, but...
Yeah. Think of a phugoid cycle as a little bit of a roller coaster ride. When it's drawn, like the flight path is actually drawn on a map, and you can visually see it, it literally looks like it like climbs, goes down, climbs, goes down, over and over again. Woof. People with motion sickness, rough.
Buckle up.
Like that's... Without the stabilizing influence of working flight controls, the DC-10 begins a really terrifying pattern. It climbs until it loses speed and begins to stall. Then the nose drops and it dives until it gains speed and begins to climb again. Each cycle costs them about 1,500 feet of altitude. The crew contacts air traffic control and declares an emergency, requesting vectors to the nearest airport, which just happens to be Sioux Gateway Airport in Sioux City, Iowa, 55 miles away. They're going to have to limp this puppy.
55 miles for a plane is real fast, though. That's just descent time.
Yeah, there is not really descent or gain in this situation. There is just like buckle up and hold on and do your best.
Turn your car off. Hope it starts again.
God. During this critical phase, they realize that they need help. Flight attendant Jan Brown-Lohr relays a message from the cabin. There's a DC-10 training check pilot among the passengers who's volunteered to assist. So he is just sitting in that cabin,
waiting for his moment to shine.
chillaxing, And she gets back there and she's, hi, we're having a DC-10 crisis. Help. And he's like, hey.
I got you.
I'm Denny Fitch, baby. It's me, ya boy. His presence on this flight is about to become crucial to the survival of everyone on board. I don't know if anybody ever played there was a Shrek video game. I think it was on the original Wii. And they did this thing where they were like, hero time.
Oh my.
And that's what this reminds me of. This is hero time.
I hope he was really dramatic about it. They come back like, we need you to save everybody here. And he's like, fine.
Again? Okay. Fitch makes his way to the cockpit where he is shocked by what he sees. Both Captain Haynes and First Officer Records are gripping their control columns with white knuckles. Their forearms are tense, trying desperately to fly an aircraft that won't respond to their inputs. When Dennis Fitch takes in the situation, all 3 hydraulic systems failed, no flight controls, flying by engine power alone. His immediate thought is stark and simple. Denny, today is the day you're gonna die.
Denny.
Oh, but Dennis doesn't panic. That's an inside thought. Instead, he positions himself between the 2 pilots and takes control of the throttles. With 1 throttle in each hand, he begins to learn how to, quote-unquote, fly the DC-10 using nothing but engine power. What follows is an extraordinary display of teamwork and skill. Captain Haynes continues working his useless control column, hoping against hope that there is some sort of hydraulic pressure that might return. First Officer Records monitors instruments and communicates with air traffic control. Flight engineer Dudley manages the aircraft's systems. And Denny Fitch, the passenger turned crew member, essentially becomes the person actually flying the aircraft through throttle manipulation. So Denny Fitch quickly develops an intuitive feel for the aircraft's behavior. He learns to sense when the plane is about to climb or dive and adjust power accordingly. Zach, what would you say he's doing right now?
He's feeling it.
He's feeling it.
He's a drifter at heart.
He's a drifter. He so is. That is the first time I ever tried drifting. I begged Zach for like concrete directions on what to do. And verbatim, he told me to feel it. You and Denny Fitch are
once you feel it, you got
BFFs
it
here.
figured out.
Oh, God. He learns to sense when the plane is about to climb, dive, and he adjusts power accordingly. He discovers that the damaged aircraft has a strong tendency to turn right, making left turns difficult and dangerous. As they approach Sioux City, they realize they'll have to execute a series of right-hand turns to line up with the airport, which is good because turning left
don't work so good.
Yeah, it doesn't work really good. But I guess if you turn right enough times,
3 rights make a
you'll
left.
eventually turn left. Each turn is a delicate balance of power adjustments, and each one brings them closer to the ground with no guarantee that they will be able to complete a safe landing. The crew faces another critical decision. Should they deploy the landing gear? Normally, this would be an easy choice. Yes, you want landing gear when you're landing a plane. But
that extra drag when you have no controlees.
Yeah, it turns out that without hydraulics, they'll have to use gravity to drop the gear and hope that it locks in place. Mm-hmm. The added drag might help slow the aircraft, but it also would make controlling the aircraft...
So it would dip the nose.
Further, yeah. Actually, I bet that's exactly what it would do. I bet it would dip the nose.
That's a scientific thought. That wasn't just me talking shit.
God, you're so smart. Brilliant.
Brilliant.
They decide to lower the gear, and fortunately, all 3 sets lock into position properly. The added drag helps stabilize their flight path somewhat, but they are still approaching much faster than normal, over 200 knots instead of the usual 140 knots for landing. As they line up for their final approach to Sioux City, everybody aboard Flight 232 knows that they are about to attempt something that has never been done before. Land a commercial airliner with no flight controls using only engine power for control. And I say that everybody, meaning the flight crew, everybody on that flight knew that shit's going down for real.
And that day they ran out of rental cars.
Yeah, I don't think these people are getting back on a plane today. Maybe. Would you get back on a plane?
Yeah, probably. What are the odds of you having two
That's
bad
what I'm
things in a
saying.
moment?
I honestly would be like, this is probably the safest time for me to fly in my life.
Yeah.
Right now. It can't happen twice. Oh, we have so many birds outside right now.
They're actually burps, and they're not real.
Okay. As Flight 232 approaches Sioux Gateway Airport, the reality of their situation becomes crystal clear. Because now you can see the runway, and you can see what you got to do.
And it's not doing it.
It's, I think, really setting in that, holy shit, this is going to be really bad. They are attempting something that aviation experts consider impossible. Landing a DC-10 with no flight controls at nearly twice the normal landing speed. Captain Haynes makes a decision that exemplifies the leadership and honesty that will make this crew legendary. Instead of offering false reassurance, he tells the passengers exactly what they're facing.
It's a bold strategy.
It's
Creating panic is scary, but people tend to just feel like it's out of my hands in a plane.
so true, but like we just talked about, before this moment, these people know that something really bad is happening on the aircraft, but they don't know the extent of what's happening. So he gets on the intercom. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. We're attempting an emergency landing in Sioux City. This is going to be a crash landing. Please review your emergency procedures. This is going to be worse than anything you've ever been through before, and you need to be ready.
Is that what he actually said?
That is literally what he said, folks. He
All right.
literally said, this is going to be a crash landing. Please review your emergency procedures. This is going to be worse than anything you've ever been through before, and you need to be ready.
Right on.
I love that Captain Haynes does not fuck around because he is professional. Okay. Jerry, the basketball executive. Poor Jerry. He later recalled being convinced that he was not going to make it. But Captain Haynes' honesty actually helped passengers prepare mentally for what was coming. Some wrote farewell letters to their loved ones. Others made peace with their situation and focused on helping fellow passengers. Zach, what would you do?
I've got nothing to make peace with. Are you there with me on this plane, or
Have you ever flown without me?
Yes, once.
Before we met.
Yeah. If you weren't there, like, I'm cool. I'll just help some other people. If you're there, I'm not sure you would let me get up and help anybody. It would just be you and I together.
Are you trying to write me a note or send me a text or?
You're right there next to me. Why do I need to do that? That's why we just asked, are you with me? And you said, oh, yeah.
You said that if I'm not there, you're doing your own thing.
Do you want me to send
No.
you a text?
Forget it.
My last little
I don't
bit?
want it anymore.
Okay. I think we're fighting.
In the cockpit, the crew continues their desperate battle to control the aircraft. They're descending at over 1,600 feet per minute, faster than the space shuttle lands.
Oh,
And they are approaching at about 220 knots instead of the normal 140 knots. Denny Fitch, still controlling the throttles, finds himself in an almost mystical connection with the aircraft. He is such a drifter. He later described feeling like the airplane was becoming one with him, sending him signals about what it was going to do before it did it. The approach requires extraordinary precision, Zach, as you probably can imagine. Too much power, and they will climb away from the runway. Too little power, and they will crash short of the runway. Fitch must maintain just enough thrust to keep them on a descent path while preventing the aircraft from stalling. As they get closer to the runway, they encounter another problem.
how many problems could you have?
99 problems.
And they all bitches.
These are all, this is rough. They are not lined up perfectly with the active runway.
How could you be?
They can't steer, really. Instead, they are aligned with a shorter, closed runway, but they have no ability to make fine course corrections. They're going to have to take whatever runway they got.
Get her down.
Air traffic control recognizes the desperateness of the situation and clears them to land on any runway they need.
Find the ground.
Yeah.
Slowly.
When the controller adds, "You want to be particular and make it to a runway, huh?" Captain Haynes responds with nervous laughter, a moment of dark humor in the face of almost certain death. In the final moments before touchdown, the aircraft begins to behave erratically again. The nose drops, increasing their already dangerous speed. The right wing starts to dip, threatening to cartwheel the aircraft. Fitch realizes that he needs to add power to prevent a catastrophic impact, but First Officer Records initially calls for him to reduce power. The confusion lasts only seconds, but in those seconds, the fate of 296 people hangs in the balance. Captain Haynes takes command. "Left throttle, left, left," he shouts, trying to prevent the aircraft from rolling over. The ground proximity warning systems begin blaring. Whoop, pull up. Whoop, pull up.
Okay, darling.
But there's nowhere to pull up. Okay? They're committed to this landing. And in seconds, they will know whether they've achieved the impossible or whether their heroic efforts will end in tragedy. At 4 p.m. Central Time, exactly 44 minutes after the engine explosion, United Airlines Flight 232 approaches the runway at Sioux Gateway Airport. The aircraft is descending at 1,600 feet per minute and traveling at 220 knots, nearly twice the normal landing speed. In the final seconds, everything goes wrong at once. The right wing drops dangerously low, threatening to cartwheel the aircraft. Denny Fitch pushes both throttles to full power in a desperate last-ditch attempt to level out the plane, but it's too late. The right wing tip strikes the runway first, and the impact is catastrophic. The wing is torn off immediately, spilling fuel that ignites into a massive fireball. The aircraft bounces several times, shedding landing gear and engines with each impact. What happens next really defies description. The main fuselage breaks into several pieces. The tail section separates completely, and the aircraft cartwheels end over end before finally sliding to a stop upside down in a cornfield beside the runway. From the outside, it appears that no one could have survived such a violent crash. Emergency responders rushing to the scene expected to find no survivors. But incredibly, and impossibly, people begin emerging from the wreckage. Jerry finds himself hanging upside down in his seat, initially unsure if he's alive or dead. When he realizes that he survived, he hears a baby crying somewhere in the wreckage, and without thinking about the danger, he goes back into the burning aircraft to help. Throughout the wreckage, survivors are helping each other. Flight attendants who survived the impact work to evacuate passengers from the burning sections of the aircraft. Passengers help carry injured fellow travelers to safety. But the cockpit is nowhere to be seen. For 35 agonizing minutes, rescuers search for any sign of the 4-man crew who fought so hard to save everyone on board. Then, in a piece of wreckage 180 meters from the main crash site, they find the cockpit, completely separated from the rest of the aircraft, but relatively intact. Inside, all 4 crew members are alive.
It's incredible that all of these people are alive. I want to know what happened. Where's the tail people, the first ones that were safe? Because I picture being separated from the plane first is probably the safest place to be.
Ooh, good prediction, Zach. Okay, here we go. Let's dive into that. Exact philosopher. Captain Haynes is unconscious, but he is breathing. First Officer Records is pinned in the wreckage, but alert. Flight engineer Dudley has suffered serious injuries, but he is alive. And Denny Fitch, the passenger who became a crew member and saved so many lives, is seriously injured, but also conscious. The final death toll is both heartbreaking and miraculous. Of the 296 people on board, 112 died in the crash, including 11 children.
It is a much higher number than I had in my head. But I think in order to catch any kind of grasp of how violent that crash was, you would have to see it in a video. You can't just describe it and people understand, unless they're pilots.
I have a video. 184 people survived one of the most violent aircraft accidents in history. Most of the survivors were seated in the middle and rear sections of the aircraft, behind first class and ahead of the wings. The front section, where first class passengers were seated, experienced deceleration forces of over 100 times the force of gravity, which is instantly fatal. Tragically, 35 people died not from the impact, but from smoke inhalation and in the post-crash fire. These deaths highlight the importance of rapid evacuation from burning aircraft, but they don't diminish the extraordinary achievement of the crew because they were alive upon touchdown of the airplane.
You just couldn't get rescued
Correct.
there fast enough. And,
Correct.
And when you're in a fire, it doesn't take long for that fire to destroy you.
Especially when that much fuel is just fireballing. Aviation experts would later attempt to reproduce the crew's performance in flight simulators. Not a single crew was able to achieve a survivable landing. Most couldn't even get close to an airport. That's wild. That's insane.
I know that they always try to mimic and see if things could have gone better for training purposes and for legal purposes. But that would be the first time that I ever heard that people could not even do as well as they did in the live scenario.
It's incredible. The NTSB concluded that under the circumstances, the crew performance was highly commendable and greatly exceeded reasonable expectations. What the crew of Flight 232 accomplished was quite literally impossible, according to the best aviation experts in the world. So, Zach, this has a happy-ish ending with many people surviving. Obviously, the deaths are tragic, but we're still left with a puzzling question. How could a single engine failure cause so much damage to an aircraft that was designed with multiple backup systems?
The shrapnel exploded so viciously that it actually hit both other engines as well. The engines were still running, but it lost its hydraulics.
Oh, let's see if you're right. The key to solving this mystery is finding the missing fan disc from the number 2 engine. The huge piece of titanium, which we already stated weighs nearly 400 pounds, had disappeared. Where was it? It was somewhere in the Iowa countryside. General Electric, the engine manufacturer, offered a $50,000 reward for the disc and $1,000 for each fan blade. 3 months after the crash, a farmer named Janice Sorensen discovered the crucial evidence in her cornfield about 100 kilometers from the airport. When investigators examined the recovered fan disc, they found that it had broken into 2 large pieces, an almost unimaginable failure for such a strong component. The fracture showed clear evidence of fatigue cracking, meaning the disc had been gradually weakened over a long period of time. Tracing the crack back to its origin, investigators found microscopic impurities in the titanium alloy, specifically nitrogen and oxygen contamination that had made the metal brittle in that area.
Garbage manufacturing.
That's crazy. The contamination occurred during the manufacturing process 18 years earlier. Folks, when titanium is melted, it reacts with air, creating impurities that can initiate fatigue cracks. To prevent this, the disc was manufactured using a double vacuum process, where the metal was melted twice in a vacuum to remove contaminants. It's a cool process.
That it is.
However, some contamination remained, creating what metallurgists, it would be a metallurgist, right? Like an ergist
Probably.
for metal.
Yeah.
Metallurgist?
I'll go with it. Yeah.
Okay. Woof, that's a rough one. They call that a hard alpha inclusion, a spot where the metal becomes brittle and prone to cracking. For 18 years and over 15,000 flight cycles, this microscopic crack grew slowly with each engine start and shut down. The repeated heating and cooling, the stress of high-speed rotation, and the enormous forces involved in flight gradually extended the crack until it reached a critical size. And on July 19th, 1989, the crack finally grew large enough to cause a failure. The disc disintegrated explosively, hurling chunks of titanium in all directions. But that still didn't explain how one engine failure could disable all three hydraulic systems. The answer lay in the DC-10's design. Another one.
So they weren't actually redundant and separate systems.
Let's talk about it. All three hydraulic systems converged in the tail section of the aircraft, near the horizontal stabilizer. The exploding fan disc sent shrapnel directly into this area, severing all three hydraulic lines simultaneously. It was a design vulnerability that no one had anticipated. So the systems were separate, but with this issue, it was essentially just like a knife, just whoosh, cut all three of them.
Yeah, but it's not really a safe redundancy system if all three lines still go to the same spot.
That's fair.
They need to be in complete separate parts of the plane.
You should be designing airplanes.
Fucking A. I should be designing a lot of things, but
Here you are on a podcast with me instead.
fuck.
Life's a bitch and then you die.
Well, eventually.
The investigation also revealed a troubling maintenance issue. The crack should have been detected during routine inspections using fluorescent dye penetrant testing.
Okay.
That's fancy. Fluorescent dye penetrant testing. Evidence showed that the crack had been present and should have been visible during a previous inspection, but it was missed due to inadequate attention to human factors in United Airlines maintenance procedures. The NTSB concluded that the probable cause was inadequate consideration given to human factors, limitations in the inspection and quality control procedures used by United Airlines engine overhaul facility.
That makes sense.
The finding led to significant improvements in both manufacturing and maintenance procedures. Titanium processing was changed to use a triple vacuum system.
If it doesn't work the first two times, try it again.
Bobby, do it one more time.
If you do it one more time, it's guaranteed to work.
That's gonna be pure.
Why don't they just have a service life like on a timing belt where it's like, oh, every fucking 600 hours, replace them?
Brilliant.
I know.
So they implemented the triple vacuum process to eliminate impurities more effectively. Why not a 4 vacuum?
Fucking A.
Quadruple vacuum.
Give it to them.
Inspection procedures were enhanced with better training and more rigorous quality control measures as well. All right. The crash of Flight 232 became a watershed moment in aviation safety, not just because of the lives lost, but because of the lessons learned from the crew's extraordinary performance. The most significant legacy is in the area of crew resource management, or CRM. This is the training philosophy that emphasizes teamwork, along with communication and using all available resources in emergency situations. Before the 1980s, airline cockpits operated under a strict hierarchy, which we have talked about before in Tenerife.
Captain is in charge of all things. You
we-
don't question
yeah.
them.
That's exactly it, Zach. It's like, I don't know, who's running this ship? People were scared to speak up. And basically, the moral of the story is that crew members were expected to follow orders without question. Tenerife. This led to several accidents where co-pilots failed to speak up about problems they observed.
Tenerife.
Thank you. Captain Haynes' decision to accept help from passenger Denny Fitch exemplified the new CRM philosophy. Rather than insisting he could handle the emergency alone, Haynes recognized that Fitch's expertise could absolutely help save lives. And immediately he was like, that guy, need him. Go get him, please. Fitch is on the case. As Captain Haynes later explained, we had 103 years of flying experience in that cockpit, trying to get that airplane on the ground, not 1 minute of which we had actually practiced. So why would I know more about getting that airplane on the ground under those conditions than the other three? If I hadn't used CRM, if we had not let everybody put their input in, it's a cinch that we wouldn't have made it.
It's valid.
Yeah, 100%. The FAA made CRM training mandatory for all airline crews after Flight 232, and it's now considered one of the most important developments in aviation safety. This incident also led to some aircraft design changes. The poor McDonnell DC-10. It's unfortunate that there have been so many cases like back-to-back that are all about the DC-10. It's really putting it in a not flattering light. You got to think, these incidents are all taking place over 30 plus years.
And we'll have plenty of time to make fun of the 737 and 747.
Amen.
Because they have plenty of issues going on too.
Oh, God, Boeing's like, hold my beer. Yes. So the McDonnell Douglas MD-11, which is the successor to the DC-10, incorporated hydraulic fuses that could isolate damaged sections and prevent total fluid loss. Similar modifications were actually retrofitted into existing DC-10s.
As they should.
I can't hear you. Just raise that up. You raise me up.
As they should.
Perfect. Modern aircraft now have backup flight control systems that can assist pilots who lose hydraulic power. Some advanced aircrafts can even be controlled using engine thrust alone with computer assistance.
If a car can do it, why can't a plane?
And this was designed as a direct result of the lessons learned from Flight 232, which I think is so cool. The manufacturing of titanium components was also revolutionized, in air quotes. The triple vacuum melting process virtually eliminated the type of contamination that caused the fan disc failure. Virtually.
Mostly, kind of, sort of.
Mostly eliminated.
But also, so did the single vacuum and the double vacuum.
It's just...
And now, the triple.
Baby, vacuum, more cowbell. Enhanced inspection techniques and better human factors training for... That I wrote a sentence and it does not make sense. Basically, they improved inspection techniques as well because that really could have prevented this issue. It was there. It just wasn't seen. All 4 crew members returned to flying.
Burp.
You see a bird?
Down there on the ground.
Oh, hi, bird. Captain Haynes and First Officer Records were back in the cockpit within a year.
Nice.
Flight engineer Dudley recovered from his injuries and continued his career. And Denny Fitch, despite doctors' predictions that he would never flight again due to his injuries, returned to captain status only 18 months later.
Denny!
The crew received numerous awards, including the Polaris Award, which is the highest civilian aviation decoration for exceptional airmanship and heroic actions. Perhaps the most important recognition came from the aviation community itself. Flight 232 is studied in aviation schools worldwide as an example of how proper crew resource management, quick thinking, and refusing to give up can overcome seemingly impossible odds. The crash also led to improvements with emergency response. So like we talked about, there were people who were alive when this plane touched down and they died as part of the fire. They couldn't evacuate quick enough. The timing of the accident during a shift change of regional medical facilities and when the Iowa Air National Guard was on duty at the airport contributed to the high survival rate. Emergency responders now train specifically for mass casualty aviation accidents. Jerry, the passenger who survived and helped rescue others, went on to become a radio broadcaster and wrote a book about his experience. Many other survivors have shared their stories, contributing to our understanding of both the physical and the psychological aspects of surviving a disaster of this scale. There is a memorial to Flight 232 that stands along the Missouri River in Sioux City, featuring a statue of Iowa National Guard Lieutenant Colonel Dennis Nielsen carrying a 3-year-old child to safety. An image that captured the heroic response of the local community.
Sick.
All right. So, against all odds,
They managed.
It's
not perfect, but neither was the plane.
Captain Al Haynes, who passed away in 2019, always insisted he and his crew were not heroes. They were just doing their job. But the 184 people who walked away from that cornfield in Iowa and the thousands of aviation professionals who have benefited from the lessons learned know better.
They disagree.
Okay, Zach, that's our story for today.
It's a heck of a story. A little sad, a little happy, a little demanding on the other side of the table. But I love a story of a guy that just feels it. He's got the spirit. That's what I like.
Oh, man. Zach, where could people reach out to us? Where can they find us?
We are on Facebook, Instagram. You can reach us by email.
We are on Instagram at Final Boarding Call Pod. We are on Facebook at Final Boarding Call Podcast. We have a discussion group. And then we are on email. We're on the emails.
We got them email
We
things.
got emails at finalboardingcallpodcast@gmail.com. And you can reach us any way that floats your goat. And
as always, if you enjoyed this story, please like, rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcast.
And join us next time,
where we will be discovering another air disaster.
Until then, remember, stow your tray tables, fasten your seatbelts, and prepare for the unexpected, because not every trip reaches its final destination. Goodbye.
Bye.